Welcome to the So Damn Worthy podcast. I am your host, Nilita. Join me and my guests as we share our stories, experiences, and knowledge with the intention of increasing your self-worth so that you can finally recognize that you are so damn worthy. Welcome back to the So Damn Worthy podcast, my sisters, because we are sisters. So I was going to completely bypass the fact that I've been missing for like a minute, and I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to confront it and tell you the truth. So when you need to take a break for your mental and physical health, do it. Don't ignore the warning signs. Don't let your body have to force you to take a break. Just do it. And that's exactly what I had to do. But I'm back. I feel more human. I feel good mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. So we're back. And today we're joined by Urmi Hossain. She comes from a financial background and has been in the financial industry for over 6 years. She volunteers for causes. She volunteers for causes such as women empowerment whilst working on her public speaking career. She has a blog of her own. It's called My Ways, and a YouTube channel dedicated to self-improvement, and is the proud author of her first book, Discovering Your Identity, a Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. And today we're talking about building your true identity through journaling. Now, this is different for what this podcast usually does, but we're trying to hit every single corner of self-improvement so that we can kind of help you ladies become the best versions of yourself possible. So if you have any suggestions, any sort of niches that you want me to touch on and connect with an industry expert in that specific industry, please let me know. But for today, enjoy the podcast, and till next time. Any disclaimer, we did have a slight connection issue whilst recording this podcast, so the audio responses are slightly lagged, but this episode is still packed with practical tips and tricks that you can start using today. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Urmi, and I'm talking from Montreal, Canada. I've been living in Canada for quite some time, and I work in the financial services industry. I come from an educational background of finance, and I do a lot of volunteering activities during my free time. One of the things that I deeply support is women's empowerment, and I like to tell everyone that I am Italian Bengali. I always present myself as Italian by birth and Bengali by blood.
Nice. Which parent is which?
They are both Bengali. I was born and raised in Italy.
Born and raised. Okay. How do you find that journey then? How was that for you?
It was long. It was a long journey, and I actually just published a book about this. It's called Discovering Your Identity. I just published my first book where I do talk about this journey and a little bit of the struggle that I went to accept my identity and to actually find my own identity, because when I was growing up, people would always tell me like, you're Bengali, and some other people would tell me you're Italian, and I never liked that, and I never liked that they would question my identity. And now I finally came to this realization that I am Italian Bengali, and no one can take that away from me.
I love that so much. That's so great that you went through that to like come out with this amazing story that you can share with us. That's great. Thank you so much for that. Today, Urmi and I are going to be talking about building and maintaining a healthy lifestyle using journaling, which I've dabbled in journaling, but I'm not like an avid journaler. I can't claim that badge for myself. But if you just kind of talk us through how you got into journaling and then kind of the impact it's had on your life personally.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would be my pleasure. So I actually started journaling, I want to say 7 to 8 months ago. It started pretty much around December of last year. And before that, I never used to journal. I never thought about it because I felt like it's such a overwhelming process. But what happened is I was working in this company for quite some time, and I went under a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, and I had to take some time off. And then what happened is I was trying to practice some mindfulness exercises, and one of them was actually journaling. And I spoke to a friend, I spoke to some like therapists and stuff like that, and then they were telling me like journaling is a good way if you want to handle anxiety and if you want to find peace. So I started to journal 6 to 8 months ago, and I started with this journal. It's called the 5 minute guided journal. So I try to like journal every day, twice per day, once in the morning, once in the evening. And I feel like I've seen a lot of improvements in the way I react to things, in how I deal my day. Because a lot of these journaling books are really about practicing mindfulness and also see positivity around you. And I feel like since I've been doing that, I'm a bit calmer. I'm able to like deal with the day in a more relaxed way, and I feel like it helps me a lot with my anxiety.
That's amazing. Have you got any of your friends into journaling as well then, or is it just you that's got the magic touch?
I didn't actually I didn't get anyone, but they got me into journaling. So I have a friend who likes to journal a lot, and I feel like we just empower each other. Like when I tell her that I'm down, she tells me like, go ahead and journal, will help you to get your mind clear, and I tell her to do the same. So we literally like empower each other when it comes to this.
Yeah. So what would you say is journaling for you? Because I know a lot of people are like, what the hell is journaling, and how do you properly do it? Like, is there a right way of doing journaling, or is it just kind of something that you've just picked up and you've learned, and like it's just kind of ad-libbing on your own?
Yeah, I don't think there is a one way to journaling. I think like it's just about finding what's best for you. So for instance, I think for some people, journaling could just literally mean take pen and paper and write down your thoughts. For some other people, it could be just typing your thoughts on a laptop, or let's say writing down your thoughts on your cell phone. I think it's just finding what works best for you. For me, when it comes to journaling, is really using some prompt journals or the 5 minutes guided journal, where I have some sort of guide on like what I'm supposed to be writing. Because usually if you ask me to write down my thoughts, I wouldn't know where to start. And I feel like when you have sort of like a guide, you know where to start, and you know that there is like an end point, which is to be grateful about what's happening in your life.
Amazing. So obviously the So Damn Worthy podcast is a sister kind of hub from the Self-Worth Society, which is my foundation. And we always try to aim or connect things with self-worth. So what would you say is the connection between journaling and self-worth?
So I think there is a very good positive correlation between journaling and self-worth, because I think, especially for me, since I started to journal, I feel like it just helped me to be more confident, and it helped me to really just redefine myself and be able to achieve my goals. Because a lot of the times, one of the things that in the guided journal is that you have this self-affirmation quotation, or you have like positive quotation, and when you read them, I think they just help you to empower yourself. And there is one in particular, there is a section in the journal that I used that says like, what is the quotation of today? And I always tell myself I'm worthy, I'm enough. So I think that really has empowered me a lot. And I also use my journal to write all my goals, and since then I feel like I've been able to be much more successful. I feel like I've been closer to achieving my goals. I feel like I've been able to be more confident. And so I think there is a very good positive correlation, because it really helps you to rediscover yourself and redefine yourself.
I love that so much. I don't journal anymore, but I definitely should get back into it. But I remember when I was journaling a few months and years back, a few years back, it definitely helped. It was like therapy. It's like free therapy for me. Just kind of getting out whatever thought was in my head onto a piece of paper, and then kind of leaving that to rest where it's at, was like the best thing for me, because I know that a lot of the times I overthink things and I can go in circles in my head over and over and over again, and I can think the same thought 1,000 times. I think there was like a statistic that said something along the lines of we wake up every day with like 80 or 70, 90, something like that percent of the thoughts that we have from the day before. And that's what we wake up with and carry into our next day. And it's always good to leave thoughts where they should be and then start the day afresh. But I would definitely think that journaling kind of allowed me to brain dump and then kind of move forward without having to worry about what had happened the day before or 2 weeks ago and so forth. And a lot of people carry things with them, and I think journaling for me definitely helped me kind of just offload, get it off my chest, and then just move on from there. So and then with that, it gives you like clarity, doesn't it? For me, it definitely did. I know that my brain was able to be like, okay, let's process this a little bit differently than how we're doing it right now, because it's just too much in your head sometimes, and it's great to get it out onto paper or just get it off your chest, even if that's speaking to a friend or whatever it is. But I know in this case, obviously we're talking about journaling, but for me, just kind of speaking to a friend or journaling or writing it down definitely helped. So I definitely would recommend journaling for anyone who's never done it before. So if someone's brand new and they've come to you and they said, Urmi, I want to kind of learn how to do journaling for the first time, what are the steps that you would take them through to kind of getting into it?
So first of all, I think journaling for the first time, it's very overwhelming, but there are a couple of steps that I think people can take. And the first one is some of the ones that I already mentioned. I think when it comes to journaling, there is no right or wrong way. Like you just have to find what works best for you. So I think like just writing it down on like piece of paper, that's more than enough. Or it could be using your phone, or it could be using your laptop where, you're just writing down your thoughts. And I think you just have to find what's best for you. And that would be the first step. The second step is to finding the right time. And I know that a lot of people usually prefer to write down their thoughts in the morning, some people in the evening. Again, you want to make sure that you find the right time, and even if it's just for 5 minutes, like take that 5 minutes to really write down your thoughts. And honestly, it doesn't take that much time. So if you are someone who's like super busy, you can use the 5 minutes guided journal or prompt journals just to really like guide you, and it literally takes you 5 minutes. It doesn't take any more than that, and you're done for the day. The third step is to be consistent, and I think it's about getting on a daily habit. You don't want to like journal one time and then forget about it for the next 6 months, because then you don't see the long-term benefits. So it has to be like, you need to be like very committed. You have to have a lot of self-discipline when it comes to it. And honestly, because everyone is so busy, they make it easier with the 5 minutes guided journal, where really you just have to sit down for 5 minutes and you do it every day. And that's when you start building the habits. And it's only with habits that you start seeing success and benefits in yourself. And the fourth, it's really just to write down about anything. It could be your emotion, it could be your thought. It's really just letting things out of you, so that you have them in a piece of paper, you have them in your phone. And I think it's like you said, when you put these things somewhere, you're able to move on with your life, and for instance, be able to sleep better, be able to lead your day better, you're less stressed, you're less anxious. And this has helped me so much. So these are really the first steps that I would like suggest to anyone.
Amazing. You said time, and that stuck with me for a moment. You said pick the right time, and I know you mean literal time, but do you ever feel like there's a right non-literal time in someone's life that they should start journaling? And what I mean by that is, should someone wait for something to happen to start journaling, or should they start journaling and then to avoid something happening, or is there any kind of right moment for them to start, basically?
No, I don't think there is right moment. I think any moment is the right time to start. This is like to actually start with your journey with journaling. And even when you start journaling, I don't think you have to write it like right when you wake up or before you go to sleep. I think as long as you practice it once a day, I think that's more than enough. I also listened to a podcast where they were talking about it, and I do agree with this. Even when, for instance, I start off working and I don't have time to write, let's say right before I start working, I do it while I'm working. When I have a 5 minutes break, I do write it. I think it's important to always feel grateful about everything in life, and you will see it has very like very good benefits. Like you start to be very positive about everything that happens in your life.
So in your journal, do you write things like, because you mentioned grateful, so I'm assuming you practice gratitude in your journal. Is there anything else that you do in your journal? Because I know that I was doing things like gratitude, manifesting, and then I got a separate book for manifesting. That's a long story. But I started off with gratitude, manifesting, and then just like brain dumps, like this happened today and this happened today. Like, is there anything like that you do, or do you have like a specific thing that you write every time?
Yeah, mine is pretty much like the one that you just mentioned. So I practice a lot of gratitude, and I also practice a lot of things related to manifestation. So every time I want to achieve something, I just write it down, and I feel like it helps me to achieve my goal. And I also write down the highlights of the day. That's another important thing. So I always try to choose something positive that happened in the day, and I write that one down. And I also write a lot of quotation, a lot about like empowerment. I think they really help me a lot to be, I want to say much more confident and believe in myself.
Yeah, perfect. Do you ever go back and read your journals, or what is it like once you've written it, you just leave it alone and never go back?
So far I haven't. I think I will probably do once I'm done for this year and just be like, okay, this is what I wrote. Okay. I haven't done it yet, but when I used to be younger, I used to have a diary. When you write like, dear diary, today I did this and that. I used to read those ones, and I sound so funny when I read them. I'm like, was this even myself that I was writing all these things? It's hilarious.
Mine were the worst. I definitely wrote a lot of Dear Diary books, and mine were like probably just cussing out my brother, just like, why doesn't he do this? Why does he do that? Like, it was so childish and it's so cute. Like, looking back at it as an adult, when I'm reading all my stuff, I'm like, wow, I was misspelling everywhere. It was just absolute mess.
Yes.
So when someone starts first journaling and they're kind of getting into a flow, what do you feel like are some of the barriers that they might face?
I think there are a lot of them. I think the first one is feeling overwhelmed. The lack of motivation, not resonating with journaling, the lack of time, or just forgetting to journal. And this is where I think you have to like find what's right for you. So some of the things that I always suggest people is, let's say you are someone who forgets to journal, then you can set a reminder, or you can put your journal like next to your bed so that you can see it every time. For instance, I put it to my working desk so that I see it, that it's there, and I remind myself to write it. For someone who doesn't have time, for instance, you don't have to write paragraphs. You can just like use prompt forms and just put 1, 2, 3 this today, and it's not gonna take you that much time. For someone who has like a lack of motivation, then for instance you can introduce some reward system to encourage yourself to actually write down. And for whoever is like not resonating with journaling, I think there are other ways where you can express your emotion, which could be, for instance, through drawing. So you don't have to necessarily write things. You can just draw whatever it's like inside your mind. And I think that one too is very therapeutic as well. Yeah.
I love that so much. I love the idea of drawing. Like, you still get something out. It's still an expression of some sort, isn't it? That's such a good alternative. I love that. And that's like a good like beginner, like when you're a bit nervous to start, or suspicious of how it might kind of affect you. I love the idea of drawing. I never thought of that before, but that's something that I might start up again. I like that. You also mentioned overwhelm. What exactly do you mean when you say overwhelm? What about journaling can feel overwhelming to someone?
I think as people, we're so like judgmental about ourselves. We tend to like be our first own critic, and I think one of the biggest worries about journaling is that I don't know if this feels right that I'm writing down my thoughts, or maybe you might be worried about your grammar, but you have to be in a space of like in a non-judgmental space. It's just you and time with yourself when you're doing this. It's a moment where you have to be present with yourself and practice mindfulness. And really, it's there is nothing I feel like when I started, there was nothing overwhelming about it. Like I felt at the beginning, yes, because I was like, I don't know where to start, I don't know what it means. And this is when I feel like the guided journals are the best way to start journaling, because they literally have the questions. You know, they tell you like, what are you grateful for today? What was the highlight of today?
Yeah.
What did you learn today? And I think they help you to really break this into steps. And I think when you start journaling, like if you feel like it's something that might, you know, take your time, or you're feeling overwhelmed, I think you can always start with baby steps. You know, instead of just doing every day, then you can start with once a week, and then the next week you can do twice a week, the one after you can do 3, until you do it every day. I think it has to, like, it's something that has to build up, I would say. It's like in everything, you know, like you're taking smart goals, you have to start from like small steps until you achieve your big goal. Say.
Yeah, I definitely think for me, what overwhelmed me, I think you kind of touched on it as well, was the like, what do I write? Like I had no idea. I was a bit like, okay, well, should I write this? Is there anything that I shouldn't write? And I believe in manifestations as well, so I didn't want to write something and then something bad happens. You know, so I was like, let me avoid writing this, or maybe I should stick with this. And I started Googling stuff, and then Google was telling me 100 different things. It got really, really complicated, and then that's kind of when I got overwhelmed with it, and I was like, nope, not doing this, put it down, put it away. And I think what a lot of people just need to do is strip it right back, like go straight to the basics, go super simple, because journaling is simple. It literally is you writing out exactly what you want, how you feel, what's going on in your day, and you can do it however you feel, or however feels right for you. There's no rule book for journaling. It literally is whatever feels good, write it down. Whatever feels right in that moment, write it down. So I think as humans, we complicate things, we overcomplicate everything. And I know for a fact I do that myself. I do it all the time. I'm the worst. I'm the hands up. I could write a book on overthinking things. But literally, I think we just need to strip it all down, strip it to the basics, because the basics are your best friend. So when people start journaling, what would you say that they should avoid doing?
I would say, like, avoid forgetting, like, journaling. I think when it comes to journaling, there are 3 things that you need, which is commitment, self-discipline, and time. I think those are key, so that at least you ensure that you're like journaling every day. And I think this is probably one of the biggest obstacles that everyone faces, which is I forgot to journal, and people don't feel like this is important. And because we don't feel it's important, we're like, oh, it's fine, who cares about it? But it's very, very important, because it's for your mental health at the end of the day. You're doing it for yourself, you're not doing it for anyone else. And I think it's important to practice all these daily habits. So it's important that you are very disciplined about it, that you take the time, the commitment to actually make sure that you're writing a little bit every day, honestly. And I think that's so important, so important.
Yeah, that's so good. I like that, because I think it's the same with anything in life, isn't it? Like, you have to be consistent with it. I'm the worst with that as well. I've got a lot of flaws, but that's definitely one of them. Consistency for me is something that I struggle with quite often, because I think what I do is I overwhelm. Here it comes back again. I definitely overwhelm myself by giving myself too much to hold on my plate. And I think, like I said before, strip it back to basics. Like you're saying, consistency. Start with once a week, and then the next week it's 2 times a week, and the next week it's 3 times a week. And then what I would also say is I would recommend trying to find a specific date and time that you can slot it in. So like 7 p.m, once you're at home from work, you've relaxed, you've changed your clothes, you've showered, you're chilled, you've got a little glass of wine or whatever it is that you drink when you come back from work, and then you just and you get your book out, and then 7 p.m, it's time for me to journal, or 8 p.m, it's time for me to journal. And that will definitely help with like keeping up with a consistent routine as well. So timing, slot it in. And also, Google Calendar is your best friend. I repeat, Google Calendar is your best friend. I put everything in Google Calendar. If it's not if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't exist, it's not real. So definitely Google Calendar everything. Urmi, you've been absolutely amazing. Sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was going to say one more thing is that for those that complain and say I don't have time, like you can literally take the 5 minutes that you use to scroll your phone on social media to
Yeah.
literally just devote it to this. Or even when you're watching TV or you're like just laying on your bed and doing nothing, that could be a moment for you to sit down for 5 minutes and write down. So literally like you cannot make any excuse at that moment. Like don't spend so
Yeah.
much time on social media, for instance. So
So true. That's so true. She just called out so many people. That is so true. We always have time. And I think there was a saying that says, like, if you don't have 5 or 10 minutes, then you don't have a life. So you can definitely find time. And you can even get apps on your phone where you can journal. So, like, we literally don't have an excuse to not journal, do we, to be honest? So pat on the wrist for all of us that don't journal. You have been absolutely amazing. You've given us so much golden knowledge. Thank you so much for coming on. So just before you go, I've got a couple of questions, rapid fire questions, but before we get to that, I want to ask you, where can my audience find you?
yes, so people can find me in many places actually. So I am on LinkedIn. I do connect with a lot of people. It's called Urmi Hossain, so that's my full name. They can also find me on YouTube, and it's called again Urmi Hossain. I also have my own blog. It's called myways.ca. And I also have just published my first book. It's called Discovering Your Identity, written by me. So they can find it on Amazon for whoever is interested in reading a little bit about how I found my own identity.
Amazing. Everyone go buy her book. Go do it right now. Stop the podcast and go onto Amazon and buy the book. Okay, so you ready for the rapid fire questions? Just going to throw them at you, answer them as quickly or as slowly as you'd like. You can expand, you can keep it short and snappy. It's completely up to you how we do this. You ready?
Yeah.
Amazing. What do you hope to rediscover about yourself?
Power in what I'm capable of achieving.
Oh, can you expand a little bit on the power one?
On the power one, I think it's just to see, find my own strength, like emotional strength, and my ability of achieving things in life, and be a very powerful. But what I mean by powerful, I mean like a bold woman. That's what I mean.
I love that. I love that. I definitely gonna put that one in my in my book. I like that one.
Yeah.
What has life taught you so far?
It's interesting because I feel like life is always teaching me a lot of things, but I think one that I recently learned is that when you like getting lost is actually a good experience, because at the end of the day it helps you to find yourself and to find your true self. So I feel like there was a moment in my life where I feel like I was not recognizing myself, but this has been a good thing because now I feel like I see a new version of me, and which I really, really like.
I love that so much. What does happiness mean to you?
I think for me it really means finding peace within yourself.
I love that. And how do you quiet your inner negative dialogue?
I do two things actually. I like to read when I'm like I have a lot of negative thoughts, or I actually practice a lot of physical activity. So before I used to run. Whenever I would like having a bad day or negative thoughts, I would just go and run outside. But now I started to practice Muay Thai, and that has been such a great experience. Like I love practicing Muay Thai. Like I feel like I can release all the stress, all the negativity when I'm punching people.
I can agree with that one. I used to do boxing. And boxing was like my safe haven. It was like my safe space. I remember one day I was having such a bad day at work, and I used to work in a gym. So, well, I currently do work in the gym, but I used to work in a different gym, and one of the instructors was my boxing coach, so he used to literally just meet me after work and we do a little box paddle work and whatever, pad work. And then there was this one day that I was just like, I'm going home, I've had such a crap day, no one talk to me, no one look at me. I was like, I want out of here. And he walked up to me and was like, no, come with me. And we like started punching it out, and I just felt so good after. I was just like, this is the best thing. So physical activity honestly can save a life. Like, it's so good.
Yes, agreed.
So good. My last rapid fire question is, what advice would you give to someone who was on their journey to rediscovering their self-worth?
I would say spend a lot of time with yourself. I think me time are the best time, because you start to fall in love with life and with yourself. That's my only advice. I did that, and it's just so great. I love having my me time, honestly, just me and myself. It's so great.
I love my me time too.
Yeah.
Urmi, you have been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on to the So Damn Worthy podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.